You didn't jump in there, did you?
I totally jumped in there, right? No, we're live now. Welcome to another episode of Media Moguls, where Corey and I touch base with people who are doing cool things that are kind of in the media or trying to be in the media spotlight. And for those of you that follow us, you will know that, well, Corey's not here, so he apologized for that. He had a surprise business meeting. But you might recognize Nino from a crypto roundtable live that we did about basically comics, blockchain comics. And what's interesting about Nino is he has an alter ego. As well as Raki. Raki has an alter ego, and they're from a little project called Corporate Comics, and it's a really cool project. Well, it's better if you guys introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are, what you do in the space, or how you got into the space. Actually, that's kind of interesting because you guys kind of came from the opposite direction. At least Corporate Comics came from the opposite direction. I don't know Raki at all, so I'm interested to hear his story. I'm sure a lot of people don't know who you are, Nino, okay. So we're interested. But basically, yeah, the director and the creative director, go for it.
Should we?
Okay, cool.
So I think you should introduce
do you want to start, Nino,
your superhero.
Okay, yeah. So my superhero is the Crypto Shaman, I've always been into kind of comics and drawing and all that kind of stuff. I actually knew Nino from when he was 13 years old, and used to run around town asking everybody to teach him how to draw, and became incredibly good very quickly. So at the time, I think probably for like 5 or 6 years, I've been telling you we should like do set up a comics company and stuff like that, because I'm kind of more, I guess, entrepreneurial, and in that I've always started new things. But we started one about 2 years ago. In fact, you and Nino and Ali started it because I put you guys together. So I didn't have time at the time, but now I do. So I've been in crypto since late 2016. I knew about it since 2012, but I started investing in 2016, and basically at $600 and went all the way up to 20K, and then and then followed it all the way back down again. So so that was kind of quite a wild ride. But what I did I had about 8 months after that where I just basically did nothing, apart from kind of think and plan and kind of work out new crypto projects. In fact, I can't stay here for too long because we're just starting our sale at Omnia DeFi, which is part of basically Corporate Comics, Omnia DeFi, and a few other companies are part of something called Create Links, which is kind of collaborative network. But yeah, so as soon as that finishes, which will be on the 5th, we are basically starting with Corporate Comics, doing like an NFT platform, but we're going to specialize on avatars in particular. And I can go into that further, why that's our particular focus and what we see happening in that space. You go ahead, Nino.
Yeah, I mean, like just before you start, very cool. Like, but you're probably sitting okay now, right? Like, it kind of seems like the people who followed it down, from 20K and didn't give up. It's funny. Like, I was looking at my portfolio the other day, and it was like,
the thing is.
No, go ahead.
Well, the thing is, I'm not that smart. I mean, so I was smart enough to make a ton of money on the way up. But then I realized I wasn't smart enough to kind of keep it on the way down. So, right. So basically, I was really heavily invested in this coin called what's it called now? Veritasium. That's great project, but the SEC kind of just clamped down on. Right. I think it was Richie Middleton who was running that project. I still think it's a bit unfair what they did to him, but. So that went from like I wrote that up from like I think we got in at 60 cents, and then it rode all the way up to $500, and then I stayed there because I thought, well, as it went down, I was like, yeah, but come on, man, this is a great project. It's going to go up again. But it went all the way down from $500 all the way down to $16, right? And then I was just like, man. And I kind of spent a lot of it on the way down as well. So I was just like, I didn't really care. Unfortunately, I don't have that strong a relationship to money. So if it's there, I'll kind of spend it. And if it's there to make, I'll make it. But but it's fun. I learned a lot, and I really got into the crypto space because before that, I had a robotics company with a professor, and it really got me into thinking like, how can we improve the world with regards to robotics and automation taking over people's livelihood, right? So I invented a robot that cleans high-rise buildings and stuff, which is cool. But
Seriously?
Also, I realized that a lot of people be losing their jobs.
You invented a robot that cleans high-rise buildings? Like, that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah. I set up a company with Dr. Merkel. Well, actually, it's Professor Merkel now at Imperial. And we did a prototype and everything. And but I was just kind of like, I guess most people just think they can make money and that's great. But I was just kind of like, I was feeling sorry for all the people that are going to lose their jobs, right? Because it was like going to be quicker, more efficient. You can't really compete with it. You can't put humans and compete with what we had. So and even on the price, on the price level, health and safety, all that kind of stuff. So it really got me thinking about how automation is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing in the sense that it's taken over a lot of people's livelihood that they enjoy, stuff they enjoy doing, So I started.
And I think that's like a really good point, right? Like, I mean, honestly, I kind of feel like robots that clean high-rise building windows should just be a thing because, like, I don't know how many people enjoy being Spider-Man. I mean, I often stare at ledges outside of windows and think, like, I would kind of like to wash that window, but like, I used to climb as well, but like, I don't even trust rope. Think about
abseiling down. Think about abseiling because for high, right? Abseiling down a high-rise. Cleaning windows is probably a pretty cool job, right? I mean,
100%.
Certainly, the people I talked to really loved it. They loved it, man. That was one of their they just loved their job, right? So that's what got me thinking. It's kind of like I'm not sure I feel that good about this, So the idea was to basically create a crypto which decentralizes ownership of automation, so that the people that do lose their work or whatever, they also somehow kind of benefit from what takes over from them, right? And also just kind of like decentralizing ownership of automation, I think is absolutely essential, because otherwise what we're going to end up with is just like Amazon, Google, and all those companies will all own all the automation, and nobody cares if people protest because they just hire instead, right? So so I think it's really important. So that got me set on a whole massive kind of ideas on how to structure a brand new society, and includes everything like decentralized direct democracy, financial models, like you name it, and corporate comics is kind of part of that. It's very much the marketing side of things, but it's also very much to do with the avatar and the metaverse, and how do we gain a new identity within the metaverse, and how is that related to our real identity, and how can you have like a successful integration of both without them kind of being a negative influence on each other? So stuff like that, really.
Yeah, it's really cool that, like, I think, the UBC or IBC, sorry, I get confused, right? Sorry, IBC, we kind of look at this, universal basic income, and we think like, people are on two sides of it, right? But I think we have, like you said, a really cool chance with blockchain and cryptocurrency and automation in the world that we exist in, to be able to displace, the modern system of everyone has to work for a living in order to put food on the table, without actually having to like take away everyone's jobs, right? Like, we can create new jobs, but it's not always about job creation. Again, what if you have this kind of system whereby the people who are losing their jobs are actually incentivized because they're gaining shares in a company. I know this is not exactly what you're doing, but they're gaining shares in a company that they own, right? And blockchain and crypto is a lot of it is about ownership, right? And like when you can own something yourself without having to go through these big companies, these big businesses, you can own your own music, when you can own your own, experiences, when you can own your own bank, essentially, then the world changes, right? And so that I guess this is what one of the things that like I'm learning about like corporate comics as well is like. Well, we'll get to that very soon, but you guys are doing something really interesting along those lines as well, with your project. So, but before we get to that, Nino, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself for people who might not know you?
Yeah, so my name's Iron Chin. Well, that's my superhero name. So, my name's Nino Meriano. I'm the creative director of corporate comics. So, like Raki said, I've just been drawing since I was a little kid. Just love it, and I'm basically trying to make a living out of doing what I love. So, and then that led me to meeting this crazy person called Raki Brown, and then we've gone from there basically. So it's been a fun ride so far. So yeah, there we go. I think
So what is corporate comics then? Like it's a little bit different like than your run of the mill blockchain comic. So if you could maybe tell people like what is it? Like you guys so it's funny because you're introducing yourselves as these like alias characters, but like nobody really knows what it is. So yeah, you guys, it's when you go to the website, you can see it on the Media Moguls kind of branding on the left side. You guys have, and your whole team basically has aliases that are built into these comics, like for an educational purpose, right? Like they're not just comics for fun; they're actually built. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's kind of like this is kind of like, the Avatar concept. You start off with it doesn't have to be superheroes, but you start off with kind of an idealized version of yourself, and and you bring out the inner child to kind of like make some of those decisions, like what are you going to be like, because otherwise people just choose some kind of superhero version of what they do for a job, and that's not really what it's about. It's about kind of bringing out the inner child and bringing that to work in a sense, and creating stories with that. So for example, there's so many different scenarios in which we can use that, where for example,
can I jump in just to say that
go for
it maybe to frame it for people listening that don't know, we do comics for businesses as a service, and we create the avatars for the businesses, for the team members, or around the brand, and it's a way of communicating either marketing, educating, internal communications, all these kind of things. And I just wanted to kind of clear that up, and then maybe what Raki's saying makes more sense. So go ahead. Sorry to break you. So
that's all right. So it's basically where we place ourselves, I guess, is we do see that there's only I think there's a company in Japan, and there's a few more companies that are popping up here and there that do similar things where it's comic as marketing, for different businesses. I mean, a lot of the companies that have hired us have been crypto companies and stuff, and so we do stickers, NFTs, and things like that. But there's a whole range of things that comics can do that you wouldn't normally find in marketing. So, for example, in marketing, you quite often have, it's all about the wording and the images, or it's about videos, right? And to be honest, the wording nobody really reads because it's too long, quite often. And the images are often just on their own. So people just see an image and they'll either get it or they won't. And then the videos, people either click off them or turn the sound off or whatever, right? The unique thing about a comic is that you can represent the past, present, and future in one moment, right? So you can show 3 panels, for example, of somebody trying to grab a cup, missing it, and it's falling, and then the cup breaking, right? So So what you get is you get a storyline immediately, and that's not really that easy with the traditional marketing, and it's much more engaging, right? Because as soon as you grab people with a small story, then quite often they want to know how it's going to end, or they kind of get engaged, right? Plus, within marketing, there's a lot of marketing companies struggle with connecting with millennials and Zoomers, and comics just do that very naturally. I mean, it's just, and not just. I mean, my generation and older generations as well, but it's just very easy to kind of like relate to and connect in with. So that's kind of how it started out. And also we feel that the logo is just the name of a company, right? And I feel that what people have done with their logos is they just create more and more fancy name tags, but they don't have a living kind of representative of their company, like a living kind of logo. And so that's what we also do, is we help create like an avatar that represents the company, right? Like we've done for ourselves on the screen there. With Leo is our avatar, who kind of like takes people through our website and stuff like that, and it just kind of adds something extra to a company's kind of how they present themselves and stuff.
And then oh, sorry, Jimmy, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I really like it, and it's interesting that you brought up like Japan, right? Like I live in Japan, and Japan has this weird way of like, sometimes it's actually annoying, to be honest, but they have a weird way of making everything like cute and cuddly, and like, like a plane is crashing, United Airlines is a great one, for example. Like they did this amazing commercial where they brought in some musicians, and I used it at times just to show people, because it's a pretty awesomely done. Like, Air New Zealand did the same thing. They did one for the Rugby World Cup where they had rugby players, safety videos, types like that. But like in general, the West does not kind of embrace this. Like Japan has embraced this for a really long time. They use like little characters or little avatars or images to showcase what points they want to get across. And it's really effective, because the majority of people aren't going to read a safety manual, right? They're not going to watch the airline safety video on the 90% of, westernized safety videos. They're not going to watch it, right? And so like, it might be like this weird kind of, animation type of weird, like strange concept, but like it gets people paying attention, right? People are eating it up. And so like to bring that also in the form of print to the real world, I think is actually quite genius.
So,
you can put so many things into a good storyline. I mean, one of our newest clients, we can't say who they are because we don't have permission to do that yet. But they have a bunch of factories, massive, and they have all sorts of different people in different countries speaking different language and all that languages and all that kind of stuff, and they find it difficult to communicate to all of them, just by kind of giving just general instructions and presentations, which a lot of people just generally find boring. For a more kind of interesting, innovative way of kind of explaining what they do to their own kind of employees, and basically what the culture is actually, and to show the culture in storylines instead of saying this is our culture and this is what we believe in, is way more effective, right? Because people can kind of, we make a real effort to kind of like, understand their culture and understand kind of like what kind of things do people work with and stuff like that. And then it depends on the company, you can like super dramatize it. Like there was one company that they said they wanted to basically revamp everything, and they were basically they were a publishing company, but they also now wanted to do videos. They wanted to have a platform. They wanted to do all this different stuff. And so we said to them, like, because we knew they were more open to that, why don't we just do like a space opera kind of thing, where you basically in space and you're trying to build this spaceship while you're being attacked by all these other like competitors that are kind of that are trying to destroy your spaceship while you're trying to build it. And then you have like, so you take some of the stories that they've had within the company, like, you know, because every startup has some kind of like hero journey, you know, we've gone through all sorts of different stuff, and you only really know it internally, and externally people don't know it, and even newcomers within your own company don't really know the stuff that you've gone through to get to where you're at, you know. So you put that into the comic, and you show like how the accountant, like right at the very last minute before an attack is coming, you know, the tax collector's spaceship or whatever is coming, he's like working everything out, and then just at the last second, you know, delivers, and everybody's like, yes. And then everybody in the company remembers that moment, but it's been dramatized into this big space opera thing, and everybody new kind of gets to understand it from a kind of comical perspective, and everyone outside, they just see a story, which is kind of like explaining the fact that, you know, they're doing a revamp, and there's lots of new stuff that's gonna be put into this onto their website and all that kind of stuff, and to expect lots of kind of chaos and changes, right? But you kind of given a story behind it that people can relate to, right? And the thing is, once people buy into that little bit of the story, then you can do it monthly forever, right? That's another power of comics, which you don't have in normal marketing. You do an advert, and that's kind of it, right? I mean, what does Nike do? Nike does kind of like some people running with shoes, and then they do some more people running with shoes, and then 10 years later, you see someone running with shoes again. It's like, there's no story there, man. I mean, they say there is a story, but there isn't really. It's a bunch of impressions, right? So being able to create a story that's engaging and fun and entertaining, you also get the main characters, right? So a lot of startups, for example, not everybody's charismatic, right? Not everybody's kind of like be fronting their own company like Richard Branson or Elon Musk or whoever, right? But you can have a character that's constantly being in these comics, which represents the CEO or represents whoever's kind of doing this, that, and the other, and it still conveys what's going on. It still conveys a lot of the stories and all that kind of stuff. And then when people see this person, they kind of associate it partly with, you know, the comic hero story. And the thing is, you even get fans, which is another thing that you don't get with normal marketing normally, right? If you're doing videos or pictures and, you know, all the normal marketing companies, I very much doubt they're going to get fan letters like, oh man, I just love, like, you guys as a marketing company are just the greatest. I just love the way that you just put that clever picture there and just wrote all that stuff about that product. That's amazing, man. You know, you're just not going to get that, but you will get people that fall in love with a certain character within the comic, and they'll just be like, man, I'm a fan of who is it? I think it's Ali Flash, right? Who's on our team. He's got a small fan base because everybody likes Ali Flash. Sorry, it just reminded me of one of the comments we did because he had COVID. I shouldn't laugh. He was so ill. And so we did a comment. We did a comment with a poor guy where basically he got attacked by COVID, like this kind of like Agent COVID, who was kind of like a thug. And then poor Ali's just like, you know, on the ground, kind of like looking really ill. And then Leo, our main character in our comic, kind of saves the day, right? It's quite funny. So, you know, that's kind of like representing what was going on in our company at the time, you know, because we're kind of a bit worried for Andy, you know, but we're also taking the piss out of him because that's just what we're like.
Well,
so you can do all sorts of things like that, and people love Ali Flash, man.
There's definitely some interesting like parallels. Like I could have this conversation in the next 3 hours, but I'll keep it short, right? Like a lot of people say, okay, you know, the most spoken language in the world is Chinese. This is actually not true. The most understood language in the world is Chinese, but like China is a huge country and everyone's speaking a different language. It's just that like even the Japanese to this day are, you know, those pictographs that are built into the writing system, you can easily recognize the symbol across all these cultures, even Japan, which is a completely different language, of a chicken or of these things, right? And this kind of reminds me of this, like kind of, it's like taking that old idea of how the Chinese created their language, and just like this image that's here, putting those, you know, representations. Like everybody knows what a cup of coffee represents, right? Like I mean, right? It doesn't matter whether you're using it, but like like it's really, so in that sense is really smart. And I just, yeah, I love the idea that you're putting these characters out there, because again, it just really resonates with me. This is something that happens in Japan a lot, and like, you know, this is part of the hentai culture, right? And it's funny, it cracks me up because, like, you know, I'm just thinking the whole time that you're talking about that, which is really weird, I'm thinking like Wu-Tang Clan. Like, remember when Wu-Tang was like a musician? Like, they were a bunch of musicians who like basically created their own comic characters and then like turned into video games and then turned into like nobody remembers the Wu-Tang music. Yeah, everyone remembers the video games or the comics or the you know.
I know,
so it's a really cool.
I know, that's good. I mean, they did amazing, right? I mean, that's incredible. I mean, that's proper cult.
Something else.
Yeah, I think basically as well. I think we're moving into a time where, you know, like or school system, or you know, the jobs that people go to, all that kind of stuff. You know, it was all based around the Industrial Revolution, right? You've got to clock in, clock out, clock in, clock out. You've got to go to work, come back, go to work, come back. All of that is changing, right? And the attitudes are changing, and you know, people don't want to just basically be you know, time slaves, basically, right? They want to kind of be engaged. And they want to engage, right? Otherwise, it's off. You know, if it's not kind of like interesting and going somewhere, or you know, if it's just for the money, you know, people are not that interested. You know, and I think that's a healthy thing ultimately. I mean, obviously a lot of companies complain about that because they want to make money, and you know, and they see it as complete like lack of interest. But I think it's a lack of interest in the way things are set up, right?
Well, and one of the
in the way that you know.
I was just going to say, like, you're completely right. One of the biggest problems with communism was always like, what's the point in working when everyone's getting the same amount of money, right? But now we're at that. Now we're almost at that stage with capitalism, whereby we're actually not paying people enough to do their jobs because they're spending all of their time worried about, like, you know, how they're going to pay their bills because we live in this debt-ridden society. And then you're putting these people in a position where they have to work for 8 hours, and a lot of times there's absolutely nothing for them to flip and do, right? Like, it's just like, so you're sitting there, you're wasting all this human manpower, all this, right? And yeah, so you're completely right. Like, if we can port those ideas and bring back, I'm a big fan, like, bring back that creativity,
because,
right? Yeah.
You think about like
Cool. Did we lose him for a second?
Raki? Yeah, I think there's a bit of a time lag on this computer.
Yeah, I think it's not very either, because you know, you can engage it. So I think we've got a delay.
Just quickly, because I'm worried like Raki has to go soon, but could we maybe, because Raki's probably the best. Oh, is he? Oh, he's gone. Is he going to come back?
he's just sorry. Yeah, that was.
No, that's cool.
No, he might come back. Like, we'll see. But,
yeah. So if he does come back, yeah, we can talk about maybe what corporate comics is doing more in the crypto space. But there's something actually I wanted to touch upon, talking about comics in general. You know, you were saying like these cartoons that people get invested in. It's like art in general is like a thing that allows you to see your reality in a different perspective, from a different view, and then understand it better, because it's hard to understand something that you're actually in, if that makes sense. You know, when you're like, you can't see the label from inside the bottle, sort of thing. So I think that's one of like art's kind of, in general, like its kind of strengths. It's that it takes you out of your reality, but shows you something or a concept that is real, and it makes you understand it in a more simplistic way. So that's what comics are doing, basically. They're kind of taking you out of like your real world, but then explaining this concept to you in a really simplistic and kind of like cartoonized way that allows you to understand it better. So I think that's just like one thing. And then coming back to like the Avatar thing we do, like not only for the the brand, but for the people as well, because we, you know, like we've made avatars of ourselves, like our alter egos. It also brings that human connection where you have like your audience or your client or whatever, but they start to get that human connection with your brand and with your avatar. And then if they're put into these comic stories, then over time, once they're released over like long periods of time, people start to go, oh, like I empathize with that character because he's gone through these struggles, or because he's got these certain personality traits or whatever. And like, do you know what I mean? And then that's a nicer way. I feel like the way the future's going is like people actually want to connect with companies and brands that the ones that they're going to use, they're going to want to connect with them, if that makes sense, on a deeper level, rather than do you know what I mean? Rather than this big corporation that's got no kind of character or face. People don't want to buy from that anymore. They kind of want something where it's a little bit more human and a little bit more like, you do you know what I mean? You understand what they are, what they're about, and you kind of make that connection with them. So
yeah, and I totally agree. I'll talk about that in a minute. But like you said, when Raki came back, sorry, sometimes we get cut out, but Nino actually wanted you to just, if you have a little bit of time, just dive into the blockchain aspect of what corporate comics is doing. If you could just give us a quick rundown before you have to disappear.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we are creating an NFT platform for avatars in particular. We feel that avatars is far more than simply a so, for example, what we create for ourselves or what we create for companies. We feel it is an access point to the metaverse, because you don't really have a metaverse without the key characters that you play, right? So in a sense, we are rather than trying to do everything within NFT or everything within anything that represents comics, within the crypto space, we are focusing purely on the avatar aspect, at least to begin with. And we are going to then basically link that avatar long term. The idea is to link that avatar that you create for yourself, and you can kind of like, you'll be able to kind of like do, more and more with it, because there's two ways in which we feel that avatars are kind of headed. Is that avatars are going to become your representative for the internet or the metaverse, right? Which people will become, they'll have more and more anonymity over time, and they'll need it, right? Because everything becomes so kind of like pervasively like in your face. I think there's going to be a backlash where people just want more and more privacy, and they'll find more and more ways of getting that, right? But at the same time, you want to be more and more engaged in what's happening. So the avatar becomes that for you, your representative in that world. And I've looked a lot into like AI programs that I think we can combine with avatars, and basically through machine learning, kind of build up your own avatar that gets to know you over time and improves and things like that. So to begin with, it's going to be very simple, and it's going to be games based. So you create avatars that can do simple things, and they compete with each other. But instead of you controlling your avatar or it being pre-programmed, it'll be more to do with machine learning, where it's trying to win a race, but it doesn't even know how to use its legs, right? So you get several generations before before they learn how to do stuff. And you'll get horses that are trying. The best horse to win the race will be the one running on its neck, until they learn how to kind of like use everything. So what you'll have instead of like having this NFT thing where, okay, so you got like, you mix this NFT with that NFT, and then you get a third NFT, and then you get a fourth NFT, and they're slightly different, which is pretty much meaningless and pointless. What you get is you train them, and as they kind of compete, and you compete with other NFT owners, you train your NFTs or your characters, and obviously you'll have first generation, second generation, and as they kind of go up the generations, they become better and better at certain tasks, right? Whether it's winning a race, whether it's climbing, jumping, or whatever it is that they're going to be doing, right? And then you'll have some people have characters that are very good at climbing. Some will have some that are very good at jumping, and they'll be obviously the ones that are the most sought after, right? Because every time they did a new generation, they improved the algorithm, kind of like did a few more tweaks and then ran it again, did a few more tweaks, ran it again. So all of those generations kind of can have improvements done on them.
I mean, I'll just tell you, my avatar is going to be really good at using a baseball bat to knock those people off on the motorcycles outside of my hotel room right now.
There you go. There you go. But there you go. That's all right. And you'll have one avatar that, you know, where it's a 15th generation avatar in ducking, you know. It's got knocked off so many times that he's just got really good at ducking, right? And then Nino's avatar is like, you know, is really good at kind of running backwards, but ducking. His avatar with my avatar, so he can run backwards and duck at the same time. You know,
and I love it. Like it comes full circle back to what you were talking about. Sorry, there is a delay. I didn't mean to cut you off, but it comes full circle to what you were. To what you were talking about education, because like for those who don't know, I'm a pretty qualified educator. I'll just leave it at that. And I don't believe in education. I wrote my whole thesis on the fact that education is absolutely useless. So I'm totally resonating with what you guys are trying to do. But like it's really interesting because you're looking at this world where, like you said, the Industrial Revolution, the industrialized concept of education was all prefabricated in order to fit a need that need no longer exists in 90% of the world, right? Because everything's been outsourced. And now it's become actually one of our critical illnesses as a culture, as opposed to like the advantage of like industrialization and going through the process. But like most of you will recognize that like education as it stands is this like, okay, we're gonna give you standardized testing, and the standardized test is the first of you to like climb to the top of the tree wins. And in your classroom you have a monkey who's obviously going to win, but you've also got an elephant and a frog and a fish, and I mean they've got no chance, right? So when you placate your society's individuals into these little boxes, nothing happens. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm gonna need you to come back 3 times at least on this show. The first thing is we're doing this really interesting new series that isn't a weekly series, it isn't a daily series, it's just whenever we happen to do it. We'll have our first episode tomorrow with Immersies, and it's basically, you know, the metaversal effect, where we're looking at metaverses. And when you were talking, it's quite interesting because something that you guys are building, a metaverse doesn't always have to be necessarily something that you're in the game, you know, playing and figuring it out, right? But what you guys are doing is really interesting. You're the Superman to metaverses, and I will say this really in a kind of weird way, right? Like Superman, I'm not a big fan, by the way, but Superman is kind of interesting because Superman is the only superhero that I know of who changes and his alter ego is actually human. All other superheroes, their alter ego is a superhero, right? And they're humans that like become this alter ego to be a superhero. But like Superman, right? Like his alter ego. And you guys are kind of approaching this like metaversal idea from a different side, right? Like you're building the avatar first. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, for example, but I think also that a lot of people do it with avatars, like in just in general. So like at the moment, like we're doing our token sale for Omnia, but I am the crypto shaman there. So everybody knows me as the crypto shaman, but it's kind of me like running. So I've got my crypto shaman kind of character there, which I feel more comfortable with. I just kind of like doing it that way, you know, and it just feels like when I'm in that space, then I'm the crypto shaman, which means I can answer any questions to do with cryptos, because, you know, why wouldn't I? I'd be able to just, you know, pick them out. But I just wanted to touch on a few things that you were saying, like on the whole education side and how we learn and stuff, you know, because I think learning to learn is one of the most important things. But also we as human beings are very different to, say, all other animals, you know, in the animal kingdom, in that when you look at animals when they're young, before they grow into adulthood, they have flat faces, they have soft features, big eyes, and they have a lot of the things that we retain into adulthood, right? And also, it seems that the most intelligent animals quite often, or in the womb for the longest and stuff like that. So there's a lot to indicate that, the evolution of intelligence itself is based around kind of very childlike traits, and one of those is playing, right? And if you look with other animals, it's when they play, and it's what we were doing, as children. Is when you play is when you learn, right? And it's actually I think it's quite unnatural and difficult for us to learn without playing, because that's just how nature made us. Nature made us to play and kind of learn by playing, and so it doesn't make sense the way that we've been taught. It doesn't make sense that the way we've been regimented into trying to be these kind of uniform soldiers of, with diplomas, things have to change and need to become more flexible and more tailored to the individual, which is also what the long-term project with this avatar is, because the avatar is eventually meant to become your personal AI. So in 10 years' time, once the learning algorithm has really been trained, it's also building a relationship to you, right? And it becomes your personal online PA in a sense, right? And that's when it becomes your representative. But as AI advances, it doesn't just advance on its own. It learns to tailor itself around you to serve you, right? And hopefully not to turn evil and take over your life. But I think we kind of I think we kind of need we will need that in the end, because with quantum computers, with all that kind of stuff coming up, we are going to be quite we're going to need like a representative to kind of like protect us against hacking, protect us against this, that, and the other. And I think basically the avatar will become the character that knows exactly what kind of books you would like to read, or what would kind of help you grow as a person, rather than what others are kind of like trying to get you to read because they make money off it, right?
Well,
so
and there's
completely new service.
And there's an interesting concept in there as well about like how we associate with other people, right? Like we have all of these people, like you said, that are in a way more comfortable sometimes with their online personalities, and it could be because they don't like dealing with people, but it could just be because of their breach and the depth that they can go with people of like mind. But we always talk about NFTs and the beauty of blockchain and NFTs and how they can be incorporated. Like what happens when you can take a sword from this game and you can plug it into that game. But what people rarely talk about is what happens when you can take your avatar, from one game and you can plug it into somewhere else, right? Or from one platform that you're using, whether it's a shopping platform, I guess in a way we do it with like our IDs, our registered Google IDs or our Apple IDs and stuff like that, or like some preferences on Amazon. But it's a far cry from what it could be, right? Like there's no visual representation. You have to log into everything. It's tracked. You don't maintain control of what information you put out there, right? So like what you're saying, I think is going to be really valid in the years to come, whereby your online presence is defined by you. That information is built into your avatar in a sense, and that avatar, like, I think where you're going with this, because I'm just kind of inferring here, but where you're going with this is like that avatar will essentially be passively learning when you're not on the computer, and maybe potentially be able to direct you to the places that you need to be to better fit with your time, basically take the searching out of all of the time that you do and become more efficient. So either I was totally right and he's like, screw this, I'm out of here, you're giving away too many secrets, or he's like, no, this guy's got no clue, I'm out of here, I'm not talking to him anymore. I'm not really sure.
I think you've peeled back the layer and it's gone. No, I think it's his connection. But
it's all right.
Was my screen sharing? Was it, or was it not working? Or...
No, we can do that.
Okay. In a bit. I just want to show something in a bit. But yeah, Raki, you ran away because he was going too deep into our. You're on mute, Raki.
I think you're on mute.
Raki, you're on mute.
There we go.
Raki, you're on mute. Can you hear us? I don't know.
No, I think you can hear us.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I wanted to just touch in on everything you were saying, and I accidentally swiped you off. Sorry about that. but basically, yeah, your avatar will obviously be looking out for you, basically, right? If there's if it knows that you want to go to Hawaii and it picks out, it depends how much control you give it, right? But as it gets to know you and as you become comfortable, you can give it more control over things. It knows you want to go to Hawaii. It knows your economic situation. It knows that basically you want to go to Hawaii, but you get a flight for like $300 or something, and that's like just maybe $100 outside of your price range. It's kind of looking for it while you're asleep. Maybe you don't even know it is. It just knows that you really want to go there. And then it makes you another $100 by trading a few cryptos for you while you're asleep to get that extra $100. Make sure to book the flight and organize everything for you, because it also knows that there are, maybe people with characteristics that you really get on with in a certain area, so it books for you in that area. Maybe it knows that you want to kind of really become better at flute playing, so it's kind of like there's things like that in the area and all that kind of stuff. And it's up to you. It's almost like it's up to you how much you want to kind of like, how much control and how much you want to know about every single little kind of bit that it's kind of doing. But it's kind of like almost a more I mean, this is obviously long term, right? So this is what I envision like 10 years from now, right? But it's almost like the opposite. Instead of Google gaining all this information on you and using it for their own purposes, you have your own personal AI, which is gaining even more information about yourself for your own purposes. And obviously, because it's locked to you, it's kind of like it's your AI. Nobody else is going to get to know, right? It's like purely for you, right? But we are all creatures of habit, and we all have kind of good and bad tendencies and ways of destroying our own lives and benefiting ourselves that we don't even know and we don't even notice. And some of this kind of data gathering can actually be useful, right? It can be that it just knows that every time you stay up past a certain time, you just get anxious, right? And it can remind you of that, or it can be a million different things, right?
I so need that. Kind of like, I so need one of those like AI, like to tell me to go to bed, and then I can like be bitchy and snap at that one instead of my wife or my friends, and like save my real life relationships, right?
Yeah, I think I stayed up like all night last night drawing.
That's only one evolution, right? So that might be like an evolution that you liked and that you bought as an NFT of something that other people have developed because they like that within their NFTs. But then, like for example, my NFT would probably be very unique to me because I want an NFT or an AI which basically can use every single swear word in the English dictionary and put it into every single sentence consistently. Basically telling me off and saying I'm rubbish and all that kind of stuff. I find that highly motivating.
Imagine if your AI was like tracking your voice and every time you said fuck, shit, damn, like it actually put a word in there that like, because I mean a lot of swearing is just like we're just lazy, right? We're too lazy to like pick a word that actually works, so we just like use it as a one-all definition. And I have a good friend who's
swear word. Like in English you have like I think you have about 300 ways of like 300 words, swear words per letter in the alphabet in English, and I'm like half Danish, and I think you got 5 in Denmark,
right?
Like the English language has so much, it's insane, and I think you can communicate everything with swear words, and I would love an AI that basically just tells me, to get the fuck out of bed and make some breakfast and get on with my day. But that would be mine, right? So that was the one that I would kind of have tailored to my own kind of specifications, of course. If that's the whole idea of machine learning and everything, is that you start to kind of develop things and you take things from other people that you like and you start to tailor your own thing. But also, just lastly, because I really do have to go in a second, is the AI also becomes a central point, which is linked to your anonymous true ID, which is another project that we're working on, which basically allows you to verify who you are, but you still remain 100% anonymous, right? So we know that you're a real person and all that kind of stuff, and what is attached to you, or you want to or don't want to reveal. Your attach the metaverse AI avatar to that, but that then becomes a central point to all your other avatars, which I would see as kind of like sub personalities of your metaverse persona, right? So the avatars they use in different games, for example, all over the place, or kind of like sub personas of your not your organized metaverse personality kind of matrix, right? And tying them all together, right? So you kind of like you give information to and gain information from, and then obviously if you can turn them into NFTs as well, then you can move them from game to game. You can take your dog from one game, put it in another game. You can you mess around with a lot of different things depending, but also long term, just quickly as well. After we've done the corporate comic NFT platform with the avatar and stuff, that is also going to be part of another thing which is called the Omnimatrix, which is also an organization that we've set up and that we're going to expand upon. And within the Omnimatrix, you have the metaverse and many other things, and our version of the metaverse within our Omnimatrix is going to be called the Ultraverse, and we have a whole bunch of plans for that. So I'll leave you on that, and you have to come back anytime, really.
I've got like 100 reasons I need you to come back for this show and every other one that we do. So thank you for joining us, Raki. And yeah, I'm nice, so I'll say come back anytime. But if I was your real life avatar, I'd be like, you got shit to do. Get the fuck out of here. Later, man.
All right, take care, guys.
That was good. I mean, I can see why. The first time I met you, you said you just love working for the company and the people that you're working with, and it's interesting because people might not know this, but the first time that we met was for the Crypto Writer Roundtable, and we were introduced to you by Jillian, which was great. But we had this conversation, and you were like, "Oh, it'd be really interesting if you could introduce me by my avatar." Right. And I thought that's a kind of a cool idea. We were talking about blockchain comics. There were a couple other people that had avatars, and we didn't really do a very good job of doing that. But it all kind of makes perfect sense now. Why you wanted to do that? Getting kind of the deep dive. We never had time, and I kind of feel like we're only about 10% in. I kind of feel like there's 90% more stuff that you guys are working on behind the scenes that
for sure
putting together.
Yeah. There's something I did want to talk about a bit more as well, that Inspector Tan thing, the Inspector Orangutan thing that we're working on. So outside of our own platform, we're partnering with this platform called Aniseed, which is a charity focused NFT platform, and we're trying to raise some money to make a comic for talking about orangutans' habitats. So we can dive into that as well. I can share my screen. I can give you a visual of that if you want.
Oh yeah, we can do it that way because I guess it's not on here. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
Is this working? One sec. There we go. Can you see this?
No.
No?
I mean, I can see your screen, but I can't see what you're trying to show.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Oh, I stopped now. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe I have the wrong screen up. That's why.
One sec. Okay, let's go.
Try that again.
Is this showing up?
Got it. There we go.
There we go. So this is just something kind of this is more a passion thing for me. I designed this character, and so basically we got our marketing director, Davin. He's linked with this Aniseed thing, and we just thought it was a good fit, and basically we're trying to get this the go ahead. This is something actually you seemed quite interested in last time when we spoke.
Yeah, definitely. It totally jives with like what we're trying to do with Yoshi drops and the environment, and I think it's like a really big thing. So, yeah.
So I think it'd be cool to maybe talk about this more in depth together, and maybe we can see if we can collaborate on it or something. So I'm getting a load of notifications, but basically the idea around this is kind of bringing a new way of which I find which is a really nice thing about NFTs, is like bringing a new kind of way of funding or making funds for good causes, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to mint a series of characters from the comic, and then we're going to try and raise money to make the comic that's then going to get turned into NFTs itself, and then raise money for the charity. Well, alongside it, a percentage will always be going to the charity that's involved. And then, so Inspector Tan is this character who's inspecting what is happening to his rainforest, and within the comic itself, it will explain like what is happening. So basically, the forest is getting chopped down to make either palm oil plantations or make roads or all this sort of stuff. And when you put a road through a rainforest, sometimes you separate the orangutan from its, I forgot what it's called. It's do you know what I mean? It's tribe. I don't know the name for it. Sorry.
It's no problem. Yeah. So like basically certain animals have like certain spaces like that they need. Like for a good example would be like the panther in Central America. I think like one panther, black panther, needs like 2,000 square miles or kilometers. I don't know, but it's crazy. Whichever one it is, 2,000 square kilometers or square miles to survive. Right. And so when you put roads and things like that in, you basically cut their habitats down to like an area that they can't survive in. And this is a really bad thing that's happening in Malaysia and Indonesia, especially because they're cutting down the native rainforest to plant like palm oil. Palm trees for palm oil, and basically like destroying their habitat. And orangutans are a very highly specialized species that can't really survive. Not quite as highly specialized as like a panda or a koala, but they're still very highly specialized. That they can't survive. Like you can't just. You can pick a human up and like you can move them from Asia to Africa or from Africa to North America, and they might not be happy, but they're probably going to be all right. But you can't do this with freaking orangutans, man. You can't like just pick an orangutan up and move them to Africa. Like they're not going to survive, right? Like, I mean, it's really problematic.
It'd be great maybe like further down the road, like you said, with your because I know you've got some projects that are trying to raise money and stuff through NFTs for good causes like that. So it'd be good to connect on that a little bit further. The project.
Yeah, I actually, do you know what I want to do? I actually want to. I think that there's some cool things that we could do with Yoshi drops, but I also think that there's some really cool things that we could do with Gender EOS. Like Gender EOS, we oftentimes we donate some of our block rewards to charitable causes. So maybe what we'll do, Nino, actually, if you're down with it, like why don't we do an in-depth Inspector Orangutan Gen Pool spotlight on this project, and we'll see if we can maybe drum up some donations and things like that. And maybe I'll talk to the Gender EOS team, but maybe we can even like contribute some of our funds towards donating to the same charity as you, and potentially Yoshi, some things from Yoshi drops as well in the future. But like I'd really like to I want. If you're okay, maybe we could do it like next week or the week after. We can jump on the stream and we can just do an in-depth dive of Inspector Orangutan and give people the lowdown and if you're all right with that.
For sure, yeah. It's still early days of the project, but I'd be totally happy to like dive in where I see it going and like everything like that. So that sounds great. There's something else I quickly want to touch on if we got time. Is that
sure?
Okay? Yeah. So,
no problem.
You're talking about education. So basically, there's something I'm going to be progressing with my my Iron Chin character, right?
Right.
So my Iron Chin character, he's like this Zen warrior, and he can. But basically, I don't want to just focus on this complete version of this character, if that makes sense. I want to focus on that journey to get there. So I'm gonna be calling it something like the Road to Iron Chin or something like that. But this is the kind of beginning of that. So this is something like a Japanese concept called ikigai, and I think I touched upon it last time as well. But basically, it's about finding your purpose in life, right? So I've used myself as the student and this other character as the master, and throughout the comic, it teaches you the concept, and it gives you spaces to fill in different areas, and then at the end of the comic, you should be able to at least start that journey of figuring out what your ikigai is, and then do you know what I mean? And then you, so the idea is in the long run that my character is going to be going to these different masters. So the next one I'm going to be doing on this Zen book that I've been reading. But so he's going to learn about Zen. Someone that I'm really big into is Wim Hof. I don't know if you've heard of him, the Iceman. And it links in with one of my Iron Chin characters' superpowers, which is basically, so Wim Hof he does this breathing method that heats up his body, so he can stay in cold ice baths and all that sort of stuff. He's got the world record for it and stuff like that. So anyway, just quickly wrapping it back to that. So when I first was thinking about my superhero character, I wanted to do you know what I mean? Take things that I'm interested in, that I like doing, and put them to an extreme. And it's meant to be that best version of yourself. And then this comic that I'm going to be doing over time will be that journey of me getting to that best version of myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So a couple questions here. Is this comic on the blockchain, or is it not yet?
No, not yet. No, I actually, the first thing I've done with it is basically, so Raki's got a contact this lady called Janie who's working with Omnia, but she's also she's at one of the biggest schools in America, and basically in her curriculum she took aside 10 of the best students and was doing extra curriculum work with them, and basically I showed her the comic and she loved it, and she's tried it out with these 10 kids, and basically just to get feedback, see if they're getting engaged with it. So because something that she's really trying to focus on is, do you know what I mean, like you were saying, there's that school system, and then she's trying to, I guess, help kids think about, I guess, bigger concepts finding your purpose in life or things along those lines. Do you know what I mean? So it got some really good feedback, which is really nice. So so hopefully this will maybe start something in the, do you know what I mean? That's another potential project.
So I guess my question is this something that's out there in the world already, or is this something that people need to contact you in order to kind of get and become a part of?
Well, yeah. So for the moment, I've not really put it out in the world. It's just that one kind of example with the kids in that curriculum, but I do want to kind of allow everyone to get access to this. So I haven't set that up yet, but maybe I can. I'm going to set up a system where someone can just email me or contact me, or I'd have a link on the website or something where they can get this. So it's definitely in the works.
I mean, we could always put the picture up in the uplift somewhere with a QR code. I don't know where we would do it. Maybe we could even do it in the I don't know, but we could do that, and then people could find it, even if it's not on the blockchain. I still think it's an interesting concept, and you guys are working towards that. So I don't know, I ponder it, but I like that. It would be it's weird because if you were to actually put this on the blockchain, when people would fill it out, because it's kind of like a choose your own adventure type of thing. Everyone's going to be different, or like a Mad Libs kind of thing. It's a really horrible parallel, but it'd be interesting. It could almost be like a time capsule, right? Like you could publish the comic potentially on the blockchain after you filled it out with your own things, and then it would always be there, and you could go back, your kids could go back, like your family could go back like 10 years down the road, and it's like, hey, I learned this, like, am I still practicing it? Like, there's a lot of really interesting things that you could potentially you know, do with it. So I'm definitely interested in like exploring this idea. Just for people who might be watching this back, like, what does ikigai actually mean? Because it is a concept, I guess, like a concept, a practical spiritual concept that people might not be.
Ikigai, I think the translation is reason for being. So it's about finding your reason to live, basically. So it's like there's four key concepts within it that fit into one larger thing, which is your life purpose, basically. So you've got what you love doing. So this is generally something that you love doing as a kid, or something that you just can't, like Jimmy, like I love drawing. I can't go like a day without drawing. So and then something that you're good at, so you have to be good at it, which is the next one, which is something you can get paid for, right? So you have to be good at it, you have to love it, you have to get paid for it. But also the last ring, which is like, there's concepts in Western culture which are the first three rings, but the last ring is something the world needs. So you really need to, like, that's the main one in a sense that brings it all together. So you love doing it, so it fulfills you. You're good at it, so you're producing good work. You get paid for it, so you can eat and sustain yourself. But then the world needs it, so you actually make a positive impact on the world and the people around you.
You know what we should do? We should do this for me online. We'll work through it together live, and like, that might be actually really fun. Like, to see what I come up with live, and we could do it like live on some stream. Just like, basically the stream would just be, we sign on. We go through, like, you know, Jimmy D's ikigai or anyone else, somebody else's ikigai, and then that's it. The stream's over. But I think it would be fun if you're down for that.
I'm totally down for that. Yeah, I want to make this accessible for like as many people as possible, because obviously, if this helps other people on that journey, then it's fulfilling my own ikigai, because I love to draw, and then, do you know what I mean? If this is something that the world needs, right? We need more people like finding their ikigai. So if we can do that in real time, that'd be great. I would love that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So once you get the way that you want to put this out there in the world optimized, hit me up and we'll do we'll do a stream. It doesn't have to be one of these shows. It can be just a one-on-one. Like, TC already wants to put this idea on one of his builds. If you don't know TC, he's like the Superman of the uplift. Let's just put it that way. He's doing some really amazing things. Maybe we'll even bring TC on that stream. TC, we could do it together if you're down for it. TC's ikigai, Jimmy D's ikigai. You guys would be fun to do that. But yeah, I mean, I got a jet because I have a meeting coming up. But yeah, sure. You know what? Like, seriously, please come back. I'll definitely reach out to you. You need to be featured definitely more on. I mean, you as an individual, I think, and also corporate comics. What they're doing is really cool. But for those of you that haven't figured this out, what you guys are doing really resonates, I think, with a lot of things that I believe in. That the uplift world is based on, you know, being better people. Of course, like, we're based on gratitudes. You know, that's how the uplift was born. But like, I mean, there's other ways to be better people, and I think you guys are exploring that. And I just want to thank you for all that you guys are doing, and I'm really happy to have met you, Nino, and yeah, I look forward to having you back sometime in the very near future.
I'm very grateful for you having me here, and really lovely meeting you as well. It's so good. So like, I could talk with you for days about all this sort of stuff. So I would love to come back, and yeah, I appreciate you giving me the stage to talk to people and to have me here as well. So
I'll definitely Yeah, there's some stages for you. Jen and I, if you know Jen from Jen's Awesome Show, we're exploring a new idea for a show as well, and like she would just love you. So we'll definitely, we'll definitely be seeing much more of you, Ikigai Corporate Comics, in the future. So, but yeah, I didn't get in the game today because I'm sitting outside and it's difficult for me to not break things. But yeah, I will definitely put that gratitude on there, and likewise, my gratitude for the day is just like I'm grateful for this episode in particular because meeting you two together and seeing what corporate comics has become out of the vision and the talent that you guys bring to the table separately, but then amplify it together has just been really cool. And I'm super excited, looking forward to what comes next in this chapter of yours. So
thank you so much.
That's all from us today, and we'll see you tomorrow on a roundtable. Corey and I are going to be with some of our favorite people in the space, and they're all crypto addicts and degens. So make sure that you tune in live for that, and we'll see you guys on the flip side of that. Thank you, and you guys all continue finding your path to your own Ikigai, and we'll check you later on another episode of Media Moguls and the Uplifters.